Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, and welcome. You are in for a treat today because we have a really special episode. We have got four of us. The quad gang is here. Kenneth O'Neal, Andrew Gay, Gilbert Paiz, and myself, Tom Fox. About a month ago, Kenneth and I were together, and Kenneth made one of the most provocative statements I've heard him make. And it turned out that not only was it provocative to me, but it was provocative to Andrew, and we both thought about it a lot. So it was so provocative that I asked Kenneth if he'd come back and provoke us a little bit more and ask Gilbert to join in because it's really an important topic Kerrville for the Hill Country and our local business environments. Kenneth, what did you say that I found so provocative, and why do you feel this way?
Thank you, Tom. It really is exciting to talk about this, and this is something that I live with daily. And I guess we need to get started here with the pandemic in 2021. All right. And all the things that happened, and everything was so disruptive, and things were changing, and we were going through a lot of disruption. And the words that really became at that time very important is mental health and being. Now, the big thing that we get out of this, though, is that everything that happened during the pandemic and the way that we should have ownership and management of businesses, these things should have been seen as coming. We should have been doing a lot of this stuff before we had the pandemic. And that is the mindset of the business owner. And they have to understand that if you build people by caring about their mental health and their well-being, the quality of their work with the quality of their life, then we can have where people, if you build people, the people will build your business. But you got to be sure to take care of those people. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say that the mindset of small business needs to change. Does that make sense?
We're going to explore it and see if it makes sense.
Okay. I'm for this. Let's see what Andrew
What do you got for us, Andrew?
Okay. I think
And we have to say Andrew's the young pup amongst us. You're going to speak for all the millennials here.
I bring the average age down in the room just a little bit. So a couple of just opening thoughts and comments about piggybacking off what you said while we're here today is COVID did a number on us. I think that what that highlighted, to your point, was the need for, from a business perspective, for an employer to care about the story and the feelings and the goals of their employee at a totally different level that had never really been explored previously. There's a business book that comes to mind when I think about that, and it was written by a guy named Simon Sinek, and it's called Start With Why. And there's some examples in that book. Costco's one of them. Sam Walton with Walmart is one of them. And the stories go something like this, where they were on this rocking trajectory as a business because of these founder leaders that instilled those values within the culture and within the company, and really and truly cared about the employees. And that did a number for the company year after year and for their future, and where in the trajectory of where they were headed. And as soon as those founder leaders stepped aside, some of that culture seemingly crumbled because the greedy profit, overly focused profit bearers were upon them, and that just drove that culture out the window. And so I think a little bit of what we have experience with here at the local level can equate to some of those stories where, what I have seen and experienced on a local level as a transplant here in the Kerr County area and doing business here as a business owner now, there's an inside scoop that to be had. And if you're not part of that inside environment, it's real easy to feel like you're blocked out of that. And some of that is a cultural thing, I think, of the culture of the business from the past that has been built here, and the difference between the have and have nots here in the local communities. I think that creates a certain type of friction. I'm not opining on that. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just what I have felt and observed from being a business person inside this in local business environment.
Gilbert.
Kenneth, I think you're right. A lot of employers, big and small, forget over time what they're in business for. And I can tell you that for me and Andrew, when we started this business, it was probably one of the worst times to do it because we did it right in the middle of COVID. And Andrew and I, one of the main reasons we left the former employer that we used to work for was that organization got so big that the ability to help people, which is the first reason anybody should be in business, that motivation for that company had dropped from the number one priority all the way down probably to the number 10 or 12 priority. It was not important to them anymore. Helping people was not their priority. Their number one priority was risk management. And that means that you couldn't help people if it didn't fit in this little box. And so Andrew and I always wanted to say, you know what? We want to help people. We want to bring the customer back to the top of the list. And how can we do that? But I think too, like you mentioned earlier, the employer, and in this case ourselves, if we employ ourselves, have to realize that you have got to not only figure out a way to market yourself, differentiate yourself, but you've also got to figure out a way to help your clients. And if you in the future you have any employees, never forget what you're in business for, to help people. But at the same time, you have to find a motivation that helps keep that top of mind. Because as business owners, Andrew and I sometimes get bogged down in the business of business. It has to be done. You have to pay your taxes. You have to do filings. You have to pay property taxes, and you have to pay your light bill and the water bill and the electricity and all those other things. Business is business, but you can never forget what you're in business for. And I think a lot of organizations, big and small, have to understand that because of COVID and other changes that are going on in the environment that we're in, employers and employees are going to just have a different relationship. But that can't mean that the customer suffers and drops from number one priority to number 10 or 12 or somewhere lower on the list. It's a constant struggle, but I think the bigger the organization, the harder it is.
Kenneth, I have a completely different perspective from this. I find the business opportunities in Kerrville bar none. There's more opportunity, or as much opportunity here as any other place, certainly in the state of Texas. The four of us at this table are immigrants to Kerrville, you being the most senior in terms of immigrating here, but we are all outsiders, and I'm the newest here, and I work for myself. And if you work for yourself, that should mean you can take that business anywhere, and that's what I did. And I've been able to, with the help of Gilbert and Andrew and Lou Samstoy, we've created yet another business here. I would point to these two gentlemen, Gilbert and Andrew, who in the midst of the pandemic created a very viable business, both being outsiders, even with a young whippersnapper with you. He may have even been under 30 at the time.
I have gained plenty of gray hair.
But I just see, when I see businesses that aren't meeting customer demands, I see business opportunity. And that I just think that for anyone who wants to strike out on their own, who has an idea, who has a product or has a service, I find Kerrville and the Hill Country to be as open as any other place. Now, they may be laughing behind my back, but I don't give a rat's ass. That's if I notice, and which I don't. I just think there's great opportunity here. And in terms of the economics of living here, I find those very reasonable, certainly compared to the city I moved here from. Infrastructure exists. We've got high-speed internet. We have obviously created a podcast network so we can market socially with social media content. So I just see a great opportunity here for literally anyone who wants to take advantage of it, whether that person grew up here or, as the four of us, we moved here from other cities. And indeed, if we wanted to pivot, you're as great an example as anyone I can think of a pivot. And I don't know how old you were then, but certainly over 60 when you pivoted into your current business. and you've created a striving, I would say, national business right here in Kerrville, changing kind of a focus from what you had grown up with professionally and have an opportunity to grow it really as large as you care to. So I just find great opportunity here. But so I've said a lot. So what, Kenneth, can business owners do, in your opinion, to help satisfy some of the needs or concerns you've seen from local businesses and the way they treat their employees?
Okay, and that's a great summary you did. First off, I believe that this area, and I think all businesses in the United States, I'd say from the disruption that we've had in COVID, is that the ones that identified that this is a time of disruption, but what does disruption bring? Is great opportunity. I think this is an outstanding time for great opportunity. So how do we approach it? Our mindset. Do we have the mindset for growing and great opportunity? I think that we're beginning to get that. All right. And the way I see this is that I personally believe that the things that I believe in should have been done before. And that is the attitude of a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a manager on how they treat their employees. I think that all along we should have taken the idea that the people that are the most important in this whole thing are the guys doing the work. See, I believe that a manager or an owner or an entrepreneur should not be doing the work. They need to take the position of the leader. All right. And I call it a leader coach. All right. There's a lot of stuff going on with artificial intelligence coming from the disruption, working remotely. And how do you get inclusion and get people involved in your business? So to do that, we have to have, and Andrew brought up a word that I think is so significant here, is that this word, the culture of community. All right, so we've got each individual business. We can say that XYZ business is a culture. He talked about the culture that was at Enron, the culture at Costco. So they have a culture. They even talked about Walmart and Walton. And when they died away, they lost some of the culture. But see, I believe that if the systems and the processes and the things that the company stands for and what they need to do is that culture with those systems in place, we should be able to predict what is going to happen. When you lose the head, the creator of the company, you shouldn't lose your culture if you have built that culture down through all of your employees. And it takes a leader that is going to take the position of being a coach for the employees. And it's all about the intentionality of treating these people with kindness, being concerned about them, and having what I call intentional conversations. Now, that's not where you say, I'm going to meet with you on 4:00 on Friday afternoon. No, that conversation, once it gets started, you keep it going by you meet at the water cooler or you meet in the lunchroom and you're asking your employees, how did the baseball game go with your son over the weekend? And so you're continually showing the people that you appreciate all the work they do. You appreciate them because you know what their goals are. You know who their family is. You get to know them. What is the best way to have a great conversation and a great relationship? Is for you to know the people and know what they do. So you appreciate them. And then you continue to inspire them to keep working toward those goals that you have in the business. And then the third part of this formula is the recognition. If somebody does a great job, recognize them and let them know that they do it. Going back here just a second is that I meeting with a number of business owners in the Hill Country area, and this would be including San Antonio and Austin, and it was never about we, it was always about me. When I was talking to the owner, he'd say, no, it's my business. We're going to run it the way that I say run it. All right, now see, I look at that as being a manager type. Dictator. I'm going to tell you what to do, and you do what I said. You don't question what I say. And I'm saying, no, you shouldn't be that way. Look at your employees. Find out who they are. Build a culture in your business by appreciating them, inspiring them, giving hope, giving encouragement, and then recognize what they do. Because you have to recognize that they build your business, and if you'll turn it over to them, they'll build it. But you, as the owner or the manager, you have got to take control and you've got to lead. And by being the leader, you grab their hand and you say, we're going to create this culture at this business, XYZ business. And it's all about the employees, and you're coaching them. One of the biggest things that came out of COVID, it used to be everybody thought that people came to work because they wanted to get paid. No, the money itself has always been down around 5 or 6 or 7 in rating. But they finally came up and they said, okay, number one is my health. That's my number one concern, my health and well-being. How do I become a better person? And the owner, the coach leader, needs to control the company where they find out what are those goals from a business standpoint. What do you want? And what do you want to do in your personal life? So I've created this alignment tool where I take the circle, we call it the wheel of life, with 7 spokes on it. And it goes all the way from your mental input, your physical input, your spiritual, your character, your career, your personal, your relationship, and then compare it to a wheel of a business. And you got your administration, you got your sales, which are your revenues, and you got the leadership in there, you got your systems that you have in your operations. And so both of those wheels should align, because if you got a flat tire on the back and that's your business, which pushes you, you're not going anywhere. So they have to be in alignment. They need to be rolling together, and they must match, because I believe that the quality of the work, which the leader of the business can create the atmosphere. And that's what leaders should do. Leaders should create the atmosphere for their employees so that they don't feel insecure. They're not afraid. They have no fear. They can come to work. They can say what they want to say without being terminated, because we're having an adult type conversation. But in the business, you have to have that alignment so that the quality of your work life equals the quality of your home life. And a person that has a great life at home, they're going to take that atmosphere to work. And I think that the leader needs to find out who their employees are. Don't treat them like you're the dictator telling them what to do. And I can tell you, in the last 3 years, I've replaced 3 women that worked at current banks in Kerr County. All 3 of them hated going to work. They never had any conversations with the management. They ended up they left. They went somewhere else. So that attitude cannot go on. It will create the demise of your company. But if you get everybody working together and everybody is saying, we are building this business. And so I believe that owner of the business If you've got a fence building company, the owner shouldn't be out there digging holes and building fences. They need to be doing the thing that they create for the long-term growth of their business, which is to grow the employees, give them the authority to do it. A leader and an owner needs to do the things that a leader and an owner should be doing, coming up with something new, adding it to the things that we're doing and sharing with other people. And so you got to have that vision for the company. And that's what I'm talking about when I say that the mindset is not proper. Because when you go in on Monday morning and the first thing the manager says is, okay, here's your list of things to do today. Don't come back to me till you get them done. And no conversation. How was your weekend, Gil? Did you enjoy?
Fantastic.
Yeah. See, that's what you want to do, is to have that conversation. And that conversation needs to go on. It does not need to be scheduled. It can just be a 2-minute, because what you're doing, see, people don't care what you know. They want to know you care about them. And they want to be recognized. And that's the attitude. That's the culture. And we have to live it.
Let me jump in here real quick. Thank you for that, Kenneth. I think let me unpack just a couple of things that you said there. One was the mindset. I think to try to tie this into my initial comments about Simon Sinek's book and Start with Whys, I think that I would call it selective caring. And I think that a lot of the business leaders that we've talked about, we've outlined this idea that there's a process in place. They're very clear on why they're doing what they're doing, and they genuinely care about everybody. And I think the same setup that you described as far as a mindset and a culture within a business itself can also exist in the area that we participate in as business owners here locally too. So I think my experience here locally as a business owner is that there is an increasing amount of growth for those of us that are here participating in business as either business owners or entrepreneurs that are very open to change. We're very open to, because we're transplants, we're open to having new transplants come in and do whatever they want to do and create and strive for whatever business environment they have in their minds they want to try to create themselves. But it does feel like there is just a little sleeve of challenges or a battle taking place that I bump into every now and again, of people that were here long before me or have roots that are way deeper than mine here. And I do get just a little bit of a shutout feeling from them, like they have a little bit of a selective caring response to who they're open to allowing in. And I think it's the age-old concept of everybody wants to cross into the promised land and then shut the gate behind them, right? And they're not as open, maybe because once they're here and established, now all of a sudden the new people coming in that want to do the same thing they do is a threat to them, right? So I do think that as we continue to grow and build out, and if we experience growth here at a local level, that this will only continue to grow and blossom and hopefully shift the culture and the mindset abroad here locally, where we have a reputation and a culture, especially in the business environment here locally, that is open to change, that is open to having new businesses come in and try whatever they want. And I think that culture and environment spawns a whole different vibe than what I have ran into and what I have seen previously here too. So thank you for sharing your perspective. That's my comments on that.
Gilbert, let me pick up on something you started with and see if I can maybe tie it into what Kenneth said. You told us why you started your business, but you didn't tell us how you grew it. And you have done things as basic as a calendar, but you've done, I don't want to say community outreach, but it's true thought leadership and it's real community outreach. So you and Andrew have done courses on financial literacy.
Yes.
You've done courses or you've lectured or at least taught people about the basics of the market, basics of economics, basics of finances. But you've also done really innovative things in terms of your social media presence. So we met because of your social media presence on the lead. You guys have your own podcast. about economic issues, financial literacy and finance, and of course the market. So could you tell us a little bit about, I don't know if I would say giving back to the community. I don't know if I'd call it thought leadership. I don't know if I would call it social media marketing. I might call it all of those, but it seems to me that you are putting yourselves out as a trusted set of trusted advisors for the community. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And was it planned?
Sure. Some of it was on accident, but primarily, I think the key driver for me and Andrew was when we started our own business, we recognized immediately that we needed to do things differently because where we worked before, they had a ready-made pipeline of customers coming in the door all the time. When we separated from that and started our own business, we didn't have that pipeline anymore. And we knew that if we just sat here waiting for people to come to us, it might be real lonely and a very sad time for both of us. And so we figured out real quick that we needed to plan how we can generate our own pipeline of prospects, customers that could possibly need our services. So very quickly after we transitioned as independent advisors, we started trying to brainstorm on ideas to generate that pipeline. And one of the main things that we thought about was when we worked for the previous company that we worked for, they were so uninterested in doing anything in the community that if you ever asked them to donate to a local cause, they would ignore you completely or they would laugh you off. And every community has...
If you could even get a hold of the right person to talk to.
Right. There were so many levels of bureaucracy that you could never get a straight answer from anybody about doing anything. And one of the main pillars of a solid community is businesses and owners of businesses being willing to contribute to local causes. Big national causes are good. They're all important and that's fine. But what about the $250 to help a local nonprofit buy some new carpet for the women's shelter? What about $250 to sponsor a golf tournament so that some of the money that's raised can be given to a nonprofit that's helping the community at large? What about sponsoring a little league team and putting your logo on the back of t-shirts to help that little league team? Doing something in the community. And so we quickly discovered that we wanted to use that as a differentiator. We wanted to make sure that people knew that we really care about this community and we want to be the people you think of when you think about who cares for this community and are you a business that cares for us? So we immediately signed up for an Adopt a Highway program where we clean up trash on the side of the road. We do that pretty regularly. We immediately signed up to clean up the river. Every quarter, we do a donation to a local nonprofit to help in the community. And this money isn't going anywhere but local. We immediately figured out that one of the ways that we could differentiate ourselves is through social media. So we immediately started doing real basic things, Facebook posts and videos. And because of our industry and how it works, it's a little bit of a compliance nightmare, but Andrew thankfully figured it out. And because he's technologically savvy, we were able to get that up to speed really quickly. And then, of course, we started visiting with friends like Louis Amestoy. He taught us how to do podcasts, and it's really helped us to get our names out there and differentiate ourselves because there's not a lot of financial advisors that do what we do in the same way that we do it. They don't do a podcast. I don't see a lot of them involved in the community. Not that I'm dogging anybody that's not. It's just that it helps us to be different. And as business owners, we've really tried to focus on just doing things different than what we were used to doing it before. It's put us out of our comfort zone a lot of times.
Yeah.
Me more than anything else, because I'm generally tend to be a really reserved person. But
yeah, right. I just play it off better than you.
There you go. But we've really tried to do things different, and we want to do it not only different, but we want to do it better than everybody else is. And it's not easy. It's a pretty big learning curve, but we're getting better at it. And I think, in fact, over the past 2 weeks, I can tell you now, and we've been doing the podcast and social media stuff and community involvement. We've already celebrated 3 years in business this past June. And just recently, this past 2 weeks, the last two customers that we opened accounts for, we have got them from our social media presence. We didn't get them any other way, but just through the fact that they see all of our social media stuff that we're doing. It's taken a while for us to build that knowledge or build that brand out there, but it's starting to pay off for us. And if every client that we get could be from that medium, we're going to be all right. Me and Andrew are all right. And thankfully, over the past 3 years, neither one of us has missed any meals, especially me. Yeah. And I always tell people we haven't missed any mortgage payments either. So we're going to be around for as long as people will have us, and as long as I think we keep doing a good job in helping people.
Yeah, and I think just my thoughts about that, just keeping with my theme of selective caring, I think that we didn't want to be the people that, whether it was our clients or where we're giving back into the community, because a lot of times we'll have conversations with people that they end up not being our clients because they don't have a need for our services at the moment. And that's okay. But we don't want to be selective about who we're caring for, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's people we're talking to in the community or people that, or institutions or organizations that are here locally and saying, and we're looking to give them back every dollar to a local organization here. I don't care who you are. If you're local, there shouldn't be a really a selective filtering process in our minds about any of that.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the big things you were talking about is Cynic's book on why. See, a lot of business owners do not understand why or what is their purpose.
Yeah, they just see dollar signs, maybe.
That's right.
Right.
They're talking about the bottom line. And I pretty much believe in the thing, if you don't chase the money, you chase the people and let those people develop, and then they will build your business as a business owner.
Andrew and I have always had the idea that the first priority, as I said before, is we help people. Doesn't matter how much you have, doesn't matter what stage of your investment life you're on, we want to help you. So whether you've got $20 a month to invest or $1 million to invest, we want to help you. Now, the services that somebody that has $20 a month and the services that somebody has $1 million to invest, they're going to be a little different, obviously, but the $20 a month guy is still going to need help. And if he doesn't have the sophistication to get to $1 million for these days, we should help him. We should explain and give him the tools to get to that place for these days. Now, the $1 million investor generally tends to be older, generally tends to be somebody that's already late in their career. That's great. They need help. But guess what? That person may not need help growing their money, but they need help preserving their money. And so there's always something that we can do to help people. And I've always told Andrew that as long as we never forget that we're here to help people first, we should be fine. And I think our strategy has paid off because we've been able to survive this long. And I don't see either one of us losing that drive to continue to help people and putting people first. I think we'll be just fine over time. And it takes a while to build that level of confidence in the public, between the public and ourselves. But I think we're getting there now. And we also intentionally practice consistency. We are consistent in our social media marketing. We're consistent in doing what we say we're going to do. We're consistent in every aspect of our business. We are just consistent. We answer the phone. We return messages. We hustle and we just talk to people. And so we're pleasantly surprised the way things have worked out. And honestly, when we first moved from our prior employer to being independent advisors, there's some risk there. And I think that's probably that one word, risk, is what holds a lot of people back from starting their own business, because there is a lot of risk. You are putting yourself out there and you really don't have any clue if it's going to work or not. I think I had probably a 75% confidence level that we would be okay, but that's still 25% that you could really screw up. Thankfully, because we work together and we've always put that focus on helping people, things have worked out really well. But risk is the biggest thing that holds people back, I think. And sometimes it's risks that really aren't even there. It's just risks in their head that are keeping them back. And that's a shame, because I think local businesses are the ones that probably can help out the most. National businesses are fine. They're okay too. Everybody needs them. But I think local businesses is where you get the best service, the best quality, the best understanding, and the most help, really.
Well, you and Andrew really need to be congratulated on what you did. There is a risk, all right? And
Huge.
most people will not take that risk. They're afraid. They have a great amount of fear. And I always say that the most wealthy areas in the world are cemeteries, because that's where all the books that never got written, all the songs that never got sung, they died with the people. And because most people will not take the risk, they won't do it. But they don't have the growth mindset that we're talking about that you should have. And as long as you guys, and I don't expect this to change, is that always remember, it's not you, it's all these other people.
Mhm.
They're the ones that count. And you really don't know who they are. You just keep planting your seeds, and a lot of seeds will be on fertile ground, but some of the seeds will be on sidewalks and they'll get blown away with the wind. But those that are planted in fertile soil, they will come see you.
Thank you. Thank you for your recognition.
Yes, thank
Kenneth.
you.
Can I ask a question? And this is just a conceptual question. Maybe I can pick on Tom, say you can take the first answer here. But we talked about specifically, so a business coach leader, okay, in front of an organization or a company, and how that can trickle down and create the culture within the company. Where do you think that leadership comes from when you're talking about a conglomerate of businesses within a community like ours here, specifically locally? Do you see any parallels with any of those concepts? And maybe something that comes to mind as far as that concept here locally? Does that make sense? Did you follow me there?
Yeah, I think it's all about passion. And if you're passionate about what you do, you're going to be motivated. But more importantly, people around you will see that motivation, and they will either be driven by your passion or want to know why you're so passionate about it. And they will listen to you. Now, you have to deliver, and you have to be all the things skill set, all the way from answering the phone to delivering the project to being there when you say you're going to be there. But if you have passion, that will drive you, and it will drive your success.
Y'all got any thoughts on that?
I can tell you this, that I've tell this to a lot of people. When I wake up in the morning, my first thought is, man, I'm going to make this a good day. That's the number one thing. I always think about that. Today is going to be a good day. Even if I know it's going to be a pain in the butt because I've got a lot of meetings or a hectic schedule, I still tell myself, today is going to be a great day. And then when I'm getting dressed, taking a shower and all that good stuff, I am always thinking, okay, how am I going to approach this? I'm gonna take my schedule by the throat, and I'm going to drag it around. I'm not going to let it drag me around, and we got this. And every morning when I open the door, when I stick the key in the keyhole and turn the knob and I open the door, I always think, man, I did this. We did this. This is my business, our business. This is the place where I help people, where lives get changed.
Right. We created it.
Yes.
We started. Had a little help from the man above. But
Yes,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course. And I wish I could say, oh, it's just us. No, the two most important women in our lives, our wives behind
Yeah.
the background.
Yeah.
Without their support and encouragement, we couldn't have done it. I know my wife would have choked me. And part of my motivation for success was to not disappoint her.
Yeah,
And to show her that,
that's
hey,
a
listen,
great motivator.
yes, fear, right? Fear of failure is a great motivator, and fear of disappointment. Those things motivate me. And then friends like Tom and you, Kenneth, and our friend Louis Amistoy, and all of our clients that continue to support us. Every day that goes by, I'm pumped up. I'm excited. I'm so happy that all those things have come together to continue to make our business a success. And I always tell myself, okay, we did this today. Tomorrow, let's do a little better. See what we can do a little better. Return another phone call. Call somebody that you hadn't talked to in a while. Return an email or shoot somebody a thank you card or a birthday card. Hey, thinking about you on your birthday. Call somebody, take them to lunch. Do something a little better than you did the day before. And if you put all those little things together over time, man, they add up.
I think that's a great habit to do you do the same thing I do. It's called a mental model. So you're modeling what's going to happen all day today. I've got a meeting with Tom, and this is what we're going to talk about.
You
when we go
manifest
through
it.
But the biggest thing is that when you get up with that attitude every morning, getting ready to go, and that desire and everything that comes to you, if you read that book called The Circle of Gumption, that gumption gives you that desire.
Mhm.
You get up in the morning. The biggest thing that gumption does is make you complete the end of the day. All right.
Mm.
But if you make the morning, you'll make your day. So you need to do that pretty early in the morning. Get up and have those things that energize you. I remember when I started in public accounting, I used to get up every morning and I played James Brown. I feel good. I was just all over the place in my house. I feel good. And my daughter, when she was 5, we did these affirmations, and she had one that she wrote when she was about 5 years old. And it says, I feel great. I feel fine. I feel this way all the time.
Amen.
That's pretty awesome.
I think one of the things you said, Tom, too, that I want to pick up on is passion. And I think in a local community like ours, we're growing, and we do have some size to us compared to one of the towns up the road here or something like that. But passion really still stands out within the business community where we operate here locally. And I think that when you were talking about that, there's a few other business entrepreneurs that I think that come to mind in the area that stand out. That's why they come to mind, because they're so passionate about what they're doing, and they're genuine, and they genuinely care about their vision, and their vision is bigger than just them. It's not just, I want to make money and have success in business. They're really and truly trying to change the world. And even if that's just, I'm not really trying to change the world, I'm just trying to change my little area, my world, which is this local community, whatever it is, they're so passionate about that. It bleeds through and it does stand out.
Yeah, and that passion really gives you a mindset of growth.
Mm-hmm.
So you're, as Gilbert said, let's do a little better tomorrow. Let's continue to grow. Let's put people in self-development programs, and let's help them get better. See, that needs to be pushed down to the employees. I've heard a lot of people say, I'm not going to train that guy, because the minute I get him trained, he'll go off and leave. The worst thing you can do is to have an untrained person work, and you'd be better off to send them home if they're not properly trained to do their work.
Yeah.
So you can't look at it from a negative standpoint, saying, if I give $1,000 and get them trained, then they're going to leave. No, you take care of them and take care of their welfare and their well-being, and create an atmosphere that makes them want to come to work every day. But I can tell you, the statistics show that 75 or 80% of everybody that goes to work at 8 o'clock Monday morning, at 6 p.m. on Sunday, they feel sick to their stomach, because tomorrow I got to go
The anxiety.
to work.
Yeah, the anxiety.
They don't want to do it.
There's a phrase out there for that. There's no way I could get it right, but it has something to do with the Sunday night anxiety of going to work,
That's
starting
right.
the work week the next
It's
day.
real.
Yeah,
it's real. It's very real.
Yeah.
The place we used to work at inspired that in a lot of people.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah, it
inspire
did.
that in me necessarily, but I know a lot of people that worked for that company that felt that way. It was
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
Let
But
me
I think that.
let me see if I can button this up.
Okay, button it up.
Let's hear it.
We started with the question of whether this city, this county, this geographic area is really business friendly. And Kenneth has told us about instances where he thought the businesses could have done better and around the way they treated employees. Andrew and Gilbert talked to us about the business opportunity they saw specifically to what they were doing
Mhm.
and how they stepped out. I came in from a completely different part of Texas and saw a great opportunity to do what I do on a national and international basis, based here in Kerrville and based upon the infrastructure that this town had in place, which allowed me to do that. And jointly, the three of us have now created a new business. So I guess what I want to end with is I want to posit that there's lots of opportunity here. And there's opportunity for the newcomer. There's opportunity for people who've been here for some time. There's opportunity for people who pivot, even late in life.
Yeah.
And there's opportunity for the business owner who may be having trouble staffing his business and keeping it running if he will just start listening and coach. I want to thank you for your provocative statement because I think we've had a great conversation and maybe this is something else we can all bring to the table.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank y'all for
And,
being
and I
here.
think there's some things that everybody needs. And there's two real important words in life: leadership and relationship. And those things create business, depending on whether your relationship is a winning relationship and where everybody in the relationship is kind, considerate, thoughtful of the other person, using the golden rule. It's a whole community and it's a growth mindset. Do not be static. Like Gil said, get up, man, I'm ready to go every day. And that attitude of getting involved, staying involved, playing the whole game. And every day we have to look at this. This 24-hour period is a gift. It's a gift. That's why we call it the present.
Kenneth, thank you for being here. Tom, thank you for being here. Gilbert, thank you for being here. Andrew, thank you for being here.
Andrew, that's yourself.
All right. All right, guys, thank you very much. This was absolutely a pleasure.